The Khanate of Sibir was a Muslim state located just east of the Middle Ural Mountains. Its conquest by Yermak Timofeyevich in 1582 was the first event in the Russian conquest of Siberia. The players, Russia. The Republic of Novgorod developed a fur trading empire across northern Russia as far as the northern Urals and somewhat beyond. East of Novgorod the land was gradually falling under the control of Moscow. Between Moscow and the Urals was the Khanate of Kazan, which broke off from the Golden Horde about 1438. In 1478 Moscow captured Novgorod, and in 1552, Kazan. This opened up the Perm and Kama River area northeast of Kazan. In 1558 the Stroganovs were given a large fief in the area and began to develop it. There was scattered native resistance. In 1573 the Khan of Sibir sent his nephew to raid the Stroganov lands. Moscow responded with a charter that effectively authorized the Stroganovs to launch a private war against the Khan, but this was not acted on. Siberia. The Middle Urals at the latitude of Perm are fairly low and easy to cross. The area was inhabited by the Vogels, and, north of Tobolsk, the Ostyaks. At some date a group of Siberian Tatars established the Khanate of Sibir and formed a military ruling class over a non-Muslim population. These Tatars were partly Turco-Mongol Muslims from further south and partly local converts to Islam. Two clans contended for power. The Shaybanids were descendants of Genghis Khan. The Tibershids were probably of local origin. In 1563 Kuchum, a Shaybanid, defeated the Tibershid opponent and seized the throne. Before 1571 the Khanate paid limited tribute to Moscow. The Siberian chronicles are incomplete and contradictory as of the secondary sources in English. This account follows Lantzef, which seems to be the fullest account in English. Lantzef follows S.V. Bakruskin. The main problems of the year the expedition started, details of the route and the location of the battle at Sibir. The capture of Sibir. Yermak began his career as a river pirate somewhere on the Volga. About 1577 these pirates were dispersed by Muscovy. Yermak arrived at Perm some time later. His purpose in invading Siberia is not clear. It seems to have been a sort of reconnaissance in force that evolved into a conquest when the Khanate proved weak. It is not clear whether Yermak went on his own initiative, or whether he was sent by the Stroganovs, or whether the Stroganovs encouraged him to go to get rid of a dangerous body of armed men. Yermak had 540 Cossacks. The Stroganovs provided most of the supplies and another 300 men, mostly so-called Litva, or prisoners of war held by the Stroganovices. Yermak left Perm probably in the summer of 1581. He sailed south down the Chasovaya River. When the river grew shallow and the weather turned cold, he built winter quarters in the mountains. Here he raided the local Mansi, news of which provoked native opposition later on. In the spring he crossed the Urals to the Baranka River. He built rafts, sailed down the river and converted them to boats when the river grew deep enough. Entering the Tura River he sailed downstream and defeated a native prince named Epanchur at the later site of Turinsk. Continuing down the Tura, he captured Timon. On reaching the Tobol River, they defeated a native force, sailed downstream and later won two other battles before reaching the mouth of the Tavda River. 20 miles below the Tavda they fought another battle and then captured a native village where they rested for a month. Leaving camp, they sailed 12 miles down the Tobol to its junction with the Irtish River at the modern Tobolsk. 12 miles east up the Irtish was Sibir. The Russians captured the village of Atik-Mirza for a base and unsuccessfully attacked Sibir. Several days later they attacked again. The commander, Mamad Kul, was wounded, which led to disorganization. The Ostyaks broke first, and then the Vogels, leaving only the Tatars. Kuchum fled during the night and the Russians entered his capital the next morning. This was probably in October 1582. The Russians had lost 107 men. Battle of Chavach Cape gives a slightly different account. Grusat has the battle at a fortified camp at the mouth of the Tobol to protect the approaches to Sibir. Nomov has it not far from Sibir. A fort may have guarded the town further upriver, but the matter is not clear. The occupation. Over the next several months various native chieftains offered their submission. Yermak, perhaps unexpectedly, found himself the ruler of a Khanate. He sent Ivan Koltso, 50 men and 5,200 furs to the Moscow to announce his conquest. Meanwhile, the Ostyaks and Vogels had been raiding the Perm territories. Ivan thought that Yermak had provoked this and sent an angry letter to the Stroganovs, demanding that Yermak be recalled to protect Perm. A few days later Yermak's envoys reached Moscow. The Tsar immediately changed his mind and promised to send a voivoda and troops. He sent Yermak gifts including the famous suit of armor. The Cossacks sent out raiding parties to collect Jasik. Bogdan Bryzga went north down the Irtish as far as its junction with the Ob. Yermak himself explored the Tatar. Kuchum's whereabouts at this time is uncertain. His nephew, Mamad Kul, attacked the Russians several times, was captured on the Vaigai River and sent to Moscow where he later had an honorable career. Said Akhmat, Kuchum's Tibershad rival, returned to the area and gained some supporters. The Karacha sent a request to Yermak for help in fighting the steppe nomads. When the 40 Cossacks under Ivan Koltso arrived, they were murdered. A punitive expedition was defeated. This seems to have set off a general uprising, and it became unsafe to leave the fort at Sibir. About this time 500 reinforcements, including Streltsy, arrived from Russia. Food was inadequate and there were many deaths over the winter. In March the Karacha besieged Sibir. 2 months later it was broken by a sortie. In August 1585 Yermak heard that a caravan was arriving from the south and that Kuchum was waiting to plunder it. He went up the Irtish to capture either the caravan or Kuchik, but found that there was no caravan. Returning, he camped at the mouth of the Vaigai River about 25 miles upstream from Tobolsk. The night was stormy and the watch inadequate. Kuchum's men attacked and most of the Russians were killed in the sleep. The story, which may be true, is that Yermak tried to flee to a riverboat and was drowned by the weight of the armor that the Tsar had sent him. Siberia abandoned. Command passed to Ivan Glukov. With only 150 surviving men, he thought it was impossible to hold out, so he sailed down the Irtish and Ob and crossed into Russia over the northern Urals. Ali, Kuchum's son, reoccupied the town, but was driven out by Said Akhmat. Reinforcements under Mansurov arrived, but they were not strong enough to do anything. They wintered somewhere on the Ob and crossed the Urals the following spring. Siberia reoccupied. Yermak had failed, but the Khanate of Sibir had been broken up and Said Akhmat could not restore it. The area was left to native chiefs who had few firearms. Russian policy was based on systematic fort building, a method they were also using to expand south of Moscow. In 1586, 300 Russians built an ostrog at Tyman, and in 1587 another fort at Tobolsk. In 1588 Said Akhmat and the Karacha were invited to Tobolsk and were captured and sent to Moscow. In 1594 Tara was built on the Middle Irtish to guard the caravan route. In 1591 the Konda River Mansi were annexed. Surgut at the Ob-Irtish junction was founded in 1594. In 1594 the Prince of Pelham was defeated. Kuchum made a number of attacks but was defeated on the Barabinsk steppe in, probably, 1598. In 1598 Verkhotura was built to secure the route over the Urals. In the 1590s Russians crossed the northern Urals into the lower Ob basin. Kesk was founded in 1602, opening the route to the Yenisei River. For the rest, see Siberian river routes and history of Siberia.